From TPN at technophilespodcast.com, I'm David Geisler, and this is the Technophiles Podcast.
You get a notification, like you're not going to be back for a few hours, and maybe it calculates like, oh, in that time I can go back to like where I get my packages from.
This Saturday, the cast talks about Starship Technology's future plans for delivery robots. After the break, they discuss the intentions of Amazon's first brick-and-mortar bookstore. Let's solve the problems of the last mile on the Technophiles 276th episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show. I am here with the regular cast, V-Lobs, Tony Stiglich, and Crystalie Malone. V-Lobs, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
You're a little sick right now, I think.
Yeah, I'm sounding a little hoarse. I've had some weird combination of crazy fall-related throat issues.
Oh, yeah?
Fall being autumn, not I didn't fall in my throat.
Well, I fell in my throat and now I'm sick.
Yeah.
Are you sure you didn't injure yourself?
I tripped. My lymph nodes are
guys,
huge.
I'm sorry. I can't come out tonight. I'm really, really sick with broken neck.
Bad case of the broken
I got a bad case of the broken necks.
Yeah, so if I'm a little quiet, that's why.
Unbelievable. V-Lobs being quiet. It's unheard of. Tony Stiglich, how are you doing?
Doing very well.
Yeah, it's a nice little night here tonight, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're going into November. Still warm for November. It's a little weird.
It's very odd.
Yeah.
Not complaining.
Yeah, I guess, right.
It has been very nice the last couple of days.
The last couple of years in the Midwest, though, we've had that kind of warm going into the holiday, and then like somewhere around January or February, it's like, what smack?
Yeah.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it's negative 20.
3 feet of snow.
It builds up. Like there's that cold front that just waits north of us or
Yes.
something. Settles there, just stews for months and months and months. And then at one moment, one front pushes it through, and all of a sudden we're all just freezing our butts up in January, February. But we'll take the spring-like weather for now. Yeah. Did you guys even notice, like, not even all the leaves are off the trees yet, even, or anything?
No.
It's real weird.
I saw a butterfly flying today, which shouldn't sound weird, but it's November in Wisconsin. It's very odd.
What the heck?
It is
Like,
strange.
what are you doing here? Go somewhere else.
You are
Go
seriously
to Mexico
confused.
or something.
Yeah.
That butterfly lost its calendar, and it's just kind of gauging off the temperature,
Right.
and it's going to be sorely mistaken.
It's going to get down to Mexico where all the monarchs are hanging out and nobody's going to be there. And it's going to be like,
Whoa, hey, you've been here for a while? Oh, shoot.
darn.
Oh, shoot, I was just up in Wisconsin. I was flying around, but you guys you've all procreated already, I guess.
You drank all the beer, too.
I guess I'll go back.
Well, we have plenty of beer.
He missed his cue that year, that butterfly. Tony, why didn't you let him know?
I didn't realize.
This is
sorry.
really
You're
embarrassing
late.
for you, actually,
Yeah.
at
Go
this point.
south.
Crystalie, how you doing?
I am great.
There it is.
Yes.
Crystalie and I met with our next live show guest this morning. It went very, very well. We met with Mr. Stuart Malthrop and talked about, you talk about what we're going to talk about a little bit, kind of figuring out what the episode's going to be about. And I'm really excited. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
It's a little broad right now. We still, we've talked about a lot of concepts today in our meeting. We got to kind of scale it in and focus it a little bit, but it's going to be interesting, you guys. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it offline, or perhaps in a couple episodes when it's a little bit more developed. So tonight we are going to talk about two different episodes, or two different topics. I found a story about a delivery drone, a delivery robot. And I don't know how I feel about it yet, so I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about it. We'll go to break, and when we come back, Tony, you have a story here that I've only seen the headline so far, and it's Amazon opens a physical bookstore, but still hopes you buy online. I can't wait to learn about it.
I have a lot of thoughts.
I haven't seen this story yet, and I'm excited to learn about it from you after the break. Because the thing is, we've had some Amazon stories where they made the brick and mortar store in New York. We talked about that a year or so ago, maybe almost 2 years ago now that I think about it. And it seems like there's this natural progression of expanding, but sometimes are you going away from your business model? Are you not? And I hope we'll learn about it after the break. So let me tell you guys about this delivery robot real quick. Is that all right? Mm-hmm. No, David. David, you just get out of here.
How dare you?
We're not ready.
How dare you, sir?
You've been voted off the island.
Oh, shoot. I didn't form the right alliances.
But we're keeping Schrodinger.
Yeah.
Schrodinger, he betrayed me. He was part of my alliance. I thought he was, but he backstabbed me. Look at him. Look at him.
Yeah,
I see who he did the deal with. He did the deal with V.
Yeah, he's on Team V now.
Heck yeah.
Fair enough. Well, guys, I found a story actually kind of in a weird place on money.cnn.com. I was seriously just poking around the internet all over the place and came across this thing. And it caught my attention because we have done many stories about delivery drones, specifically Amazon doing it, Google playing around with the idea. There's a couple different companies that are excited about drones. And we also know, we've all learned, I think together, that from a technology point of view, these drones are pretty much ready to go. For example, specifically for like Amazon and stuff like that. It's really just regulations right now holding everything back, if you want to look at it that way. I want nothing more than a company to innovate and have drones flying all over the place. But at the same time, I do understand that airspace is kind of this new frontier, and we do have to make sure we handle that correctly. So the FAA, though they might feel slow at times, I kind of get it a little bit. But I still want drones flying around. Like it just seems cool. It seems like a good idea. And I think that good idea of an Amazon drone flying around might be exemplified in contrast to this delivery robot. So let me tell you a little bit about this robot that I found. So it's from a company called Starship Technologies, and specifically Starship Technologies is a new company from the co-founders of Skype, believe it or not. They're kind of on to their next project right now. And they are trying to address what they call the last mile. And in the industry, in the UPS, Amazon, any kind of delivery service industry, the talk is, I have now learned, the talk is that last mile is always like the hardest part. In fact, it's the most expensive part. It's like 30 or 40% of the cost of getting a package to someone is that last mile of getting it to where they live. Mostly it's because it cannot be done. What would be the right expression? It can't be stocked wholesale, if you're moving, you can move 5,000 items across an ocean and that costs a certain amount, and at the end that's kind of cheap. Then you move them into 300 trucks or one train or 5 trains, and then that goes to 300 trucks, and eventually it goes down to 1,000 little trucks, right? Mm-hmm. Well, those 1,000 little trucks at the end of the day are the most expensive part of this process. So it starts to make sense if you think about it. And also, apparently, it's just really expensive if you think about like UPS trucks driving around, or any kind of FedEx or any kind of truck driving around, all the gas they're burning. I know like there's that whole like right turn thing. We did an episode on that a couple years ago, and that actually really really helps. Where like the trucks only turn right no matter what. They save a lot of gas. You guys are all looking at me with blame. Maybe none of you were in the cast when we did this episode.
We weren't, but that makes sense.
So UPS, side note real quick then, UPS about 3 years ago, maybe 4, maybe more, but I think it was about 4 years ago, they ran a computer algorithm. So all their trucks run on GPS directions, of course. They rewrote their GPS algorithms, their proprietary, their in-house algorithms, to make it so that their trucks could only turn right. All the navigation had to be done with right turns. The logic there is that even if you have to take 4 right turns, that's still quicker than waiting to take 1 left turn, statistically.
And that's
3 right turns.
3 right turns. Did I say 4?
You
yes,
did.
Of course, 3.
Yeah.
I was thinking the 4 corners, but yes, you're absolutely right.
You don't have to wait at reds.
Don't have to wait at reds. You can keep moving. And even though you might get caught a little bit here and there, ultimately, you're just scooping around a block. And especially in a lot of large cities where there's one ways anyway, just figuring it out is the right way. Also, when you're coming up on the right, you're kind of on the right side of the curb and all that stuff. That may not actually matter. But also what's kind of fun is just as a side note to my side note, a couple seasons ago, Mythbusters actually did their little version of testing that out. Mm-hmm. And of course, the thing, Mythbusters, I love that show so much, but they sometimes lack in the amount of data they collect. They might collect
volume.
They try it one way, they try it another way, they try it another way, and they go, okay, well this one won. Well, maybe you should try it 3,000 times that way, 3,000 times that. But then it wouldn't be a TV show, and I get it. But nevertheless, even on the show, they realized that they did it with a human, and they pre-planned the stops and everything. And one was using normal GPS and one was right turns only. And it was like significant. It was like 15 minutes faster just to deliver 10 packages in a couple hours or whatever it was. Wow. So this is like a big deal. Even with that, though, this is still the most expensive thing, is getting packages to people at the end, that last mile that they talk about. Mm-hmm. Obviously, some companies, as I said when I started talking about this story, are trying to solve that problem with drones and things like that. Automation, at the end of the day, is really what is the exciting thing here. I personally like the idea of automated drones because I feel like you're not really disrupting the natural flow of the city street or the sidewalk or anything like that. You're kind of going into a different dimension if we want to get silly about it. But you're going up. Actually, you kind of are going into a different dimension.
I was going to say, there's nothing silly about that.
Yeah, I thought
really
dimension
is.
like parallel universe, but no, of course, literally
You're going
dimension.
Y instead of X and Z.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, now that I think about it, that's exactly correct. You go up out of the way of all those things, and you can move around freely. You know, up high enough where you're not bothering the surface, but you're also not high enough that you're bothering the airplanes and stuff like that. Okay, there's some logic to that. But of course, that's like still years and years away because of all the regulations. So this company, Starship Technologies, has designed little 6-wheeled robots that could potentially do the same job that the drones hopefully would do. The idea here is that these are actually little go-kart, cooler-sized, maybe the size of like a cooler you might bring to the beach or something, cooler-sized robots that have 6 wheels, and they basically use very similar technology to self-driving cars. They have a similar amount of sensors around them and things like that. They can apparently, I've learned, assess where a sidewalk is, where a street is. They obviously have GPS on them. They can scan and see humans in front of them or other obstacles, things like that. They even have something in their algorithm to excuse themselves out of the way of an organic moving object.
Nice.
Which is kind of cool. So they're not just bulleting down the sidewalk and everybody's jumping out of the way or anything like that. And when I say bulleting, I should point out they only travel about 4 miles an hour, which is, they say that's like a brisk walk.
Yeah.
Sure, but a little old grandma could probably get knocked down by that.
Yeah, you get bumped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So these things could be, part of me just wants automated delivery so bad that I go, I'll take it. In the meantime, I'll take it. I want that little robot rolling up to my place and delivering me the package that I order. I don't really have anything against a human dropping it off on my porch either, but just, the trend of where we're going with this automation is kind of exciting to me. Now, there's some problems that I feel immediately, and I might save that and see what your guys thinks are first.
Yeah.
See what your guys' thoughts are on this matter first. But I want to point out one last detail, and then I'll open it up to the table here. The idea is that, of course, the thing is locked. It's lockable. Not lockable. It is almost always locked. It only is unlocked using Bluetooth or NFC from an app on your phone.
Oh.
So there's no physical locks. Like you have to execute yes open on your app of your, when you order it or whatever.
That's how you confirm it.
And then
so it rolls up to your porch.
Rolls up to your porch.
You physically,
your phone says your
press a
delivery's
button
here.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you on your phone push the button and that unlocks the top of this thing.
What happens if I don't unlock it?
Or like if you're not there for hours and hours.
Right.
I'm only assuming that it must just sit there and wait.
Okay.
I don't know.
Huh.
And that still might be cheaper, let's face it, if it sits there for an hour.
Sure.
Maybe here's another thing, like you could easily then get a notification on your app of like, I've arrived. And so if you're running errands, you might be inclined to go back and get it or something like that. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Maybe it sits there for a couple hours. I hope they wouldn't work in a thing where after 5 hours they start charging you. Maybe it could after 12 hours, maybe it could turn around and decide it
go
should
back
do it.
Right.
But this is all speculation.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you would get like a notification from it, and then what?
Your water started tipping.
Oh my
almost
goodness.
hit the water. It's okay. It's okay.
Almost right on my phone.
So maybe you could get a notification or something.
You get a notification, like you're not going to be back for a few hours, and maybe it calculates like, oh, in that time I can go back to like where I get my packages from, drop this back off, and do another package in the time
you could maybe say like thanks, but actually I'll be there at 5.
Yeah.
Not noon or whatever, and then maybe it could reroute. I don't really know. That's all. None of that is actually in this article or announced by this company. But my first thought is like, what happens when punks take sledgehammers to it while it's driving down the sidewalk?
That is immediately my first thought.
The thing about a drone is, with the exception of jerks trying to shoot it down with guns, it's pretty much out of the way.
Yeah.
Right.
This thing might be passive, but it's right down there on the surface with us. Thoughts, if I may.
I thought of that as well.
Security was my number one concern when you brought this up. Especially, I guess I wasn't thinking the sledgehammer route. Although you've sort of fixed the problem that I first thought of, which is people following these drones. And as soon as it drops off at your house, they just walk up and grab it. There's nothing. Unless,
Well, that they could do with a delivery driver as well, right? This isn't going to
They could mug a delivery driver, and they can't mug the robot.
I feel like there's a greater risk in following a person than there is a drone that may or may not be trained, quote unquote,
to know that it's
see
being followed,
right?
Possibly.
I mean, because I could literally just walk behind it for blocks, picking up everything that had dropped off.
Well, no, it's not. It's not dropping it off. It's basically like a rolling safe that goes up to your house, and then you open your door. You say yes. You open it up.
Then I just keep walking. I just wait for the person that says, "Yeah, drop it off," even though they're not home.
I don't think it can drop it off.
I mean, here, look at the picture.
You can only
if
open
this is how it actually looks, it's not going to be able to drop it off, right?
There's
you are going to have to bend down.
It's
like you
much
have
like a
to be home.
That's what it looks like.
You have to be not necessarily home. You have to be in the within the Bluetooth, within a 20 to 30, 40 foot range of the robot to unlock it.
Oh,
but this looks like it wouldn't be able to drop it off.
It can't like.
I'm basing this off of the picture.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think the robot would have to stay there and wait for you to take the thing out.
That looks correct.
It looks like a cooler.
Whereas with a human, oftentimes they'll just throw it on your porch and ring the doorbell and book.
I assumed it would sort of push it off the back, but I don't see anything
that
indicates that.
Yeah, it doesn't look
very
like
much
the
like
back
a cooler.
opens.
Saying that it's a little bit like a cooler is accurate.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean somebody couldn't stop it with a sledgehammer, open it up, pick it lock,
right,
that type of
but
thing.
I'm sure it will have sensors to know that it's being tampered with, and just being like, something crazy's happening. Some help.
And granted, even if it knows that that's happening, it's not. Well, let me bring this then to the conversation. They are saying that this is just ridiculously cheaper to do, like 10 to 15 times cheaper, this article says, to run these things. So are we getting to a position where these, I'm not saying that they're disposable, but if one or two don't make it, maybe that's still expendable.
Yeah, that's surprising, because even for the parts, you would think...
They'd be really expensive to make one of these?
Well, not only that, but you could also sell them for something. I mean, if you find a way to disable whatever GPS it is, even...
hack into it or something?
Yeah, in some way, if I find a way to come up and just plug it in, disable the GPS, we'll say, then I can just walk off with quite a bit of equipment there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, honestly, my personal take is, like, these things look really cute, but I think they have to make them out of metal. Like, they have to, these have to be, like, little armored submarines cars driving around.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question that may or may not be able to be answered, but would there be any regulatory issues with these? So I understand with the FAA and the drones... Right. But
well, here's what I think about. Like, so now there is a video provided that this company has made, and I'm not projecting, but my take on the video is that it was not in an American town where this robot was being executed.
That is
to say that, like, the sidewalks seem to work a little differently, the roads seem to work a little differently in this video. I could be completely wrong about that, but the first thing I think about is, like, obviously this robot is going to be crossing in a normal functioning American city. It's going to be crossing the street with people. It's going to be, you know what I mean? It's going to be a pedestrian in that sense.
Yeah.
Well, it said it was designed for suburban, not city streets.
Oh, I missed that little detail, but yeah, okay, that lines up a little.
They didn't make a big deal of it. It's like it's one little half sentence where they throw in that it was designed specifically for, they are meant for suburban environment rather than busy city streets. They plan
to launch it in the US and the UK, and they say that it would be very much like all these robots would be coming out of the factory that lives within whatever it is, 5 to 10 miles away or something. I actually missed that little part. With 5 to 30 minutes away from the main hub is where they would drive to.
Mm-hmm.
So anywhere within 2 hours or 2 miles.
Yeah, that's not actually that far, is it?
No.
Mm-mm.
So, what I'd be curious about, so this doesn't look like it can hold much more than maybe 1 or 2 individual packages.
I would say that this can't hold much more than a drone can. The drones that we've seen that Amazon's making, it's about the same size load. This might be able to hold just a little bit more.
Yes, but I would assume that a drone could travel faster because it's unencumbered.
I agree.
By pedestrians, street crossings,
traversing uneven ground.
So we'll say maybe even less than 2 miles if it's 30 minutes, right? Because you have to factor in if it's a top speed of 4 miles an hour, you assume it's not moving at top speed the whole time. It's a relatively small area. When you add in the wait time, I mean, I don't know how many people use Amazon that work out of their homes or are home during the day, but it seems like you'd have a huge backlog after, say, 5 o'clock or whenever.
Maybe.
Of people actually able to pick it up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Send out a bunch of them. Do you just have like a bunch at once?
They're super cheap. They use less energy than a standard light bulb. I read, which means they're down under they must be under 60 watts or 70 watts. Powered. They're battery powered, super cheap.
Yeah, it seems like you just have to have basically a fleet of these things.
I will say that Starship Technologies does not often talk about the speed of the delivery. They're very much talking about the cost effectiveness of the delivery.
Sure.
Which is not... So I think this would be very good for certain types of deliveries, but not other. And here's what I'm thinking about. So there's a book I'm waiting for. So it's probably going to be there today when I get home. Maybe it's tomorrow, but it's a single book. It's a paperback sci-fi. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's all that's in the package, right? So easily would have fit in a drone.
Yep.
It's not something for school or something. This is just a fiction book that I wanted. So, even if it took a couple extra days for it to come, it's not a big deal.
And what about this? Yeah, what if these robots, this is weird. What if these robots are marketed or offered not as a convenience add-on, but a cost decrease add-on? Would you,
sure.
want to pay the regular rate?
Yeah.
They might have the premium rate and the regular, or you could pay the cheaper rate, the drone rate. You'll get in a day or two, but you'll get in and be even cheaper.
Yeah.
That's weird. That might work.
Right. Whoa.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that would be good because something for like the book that I'm waiting for right now.
Throw it in the drone.
Yeah.
Or we should be clear, the robot.
Yeah.
The robot, the driving robot, not the drone.
And I like the idea of having an option because for this particular book, I would say, put it in the robot. Mm-hmm. I can wait. But then I would like the fact that if I'm ordering school books, for example, it's like, no, give me a person I need it on this date.
And to be clear, Amazon's main selling point of the drones is like within an hour of ordering something, you're getting it. Mm-hmm. You're getting it that night is why they want the drones. That's the drone selling point is all about speed.
It goes as the crow flies. There's no streets to.
Mm-hmm.
So I went a different route in thinking about this, although I think that's that could be interesting given the option. My thought, I went to value of package.
Okay.
Because if you say you ordered basically one paperback book, if that gets stolen, lost, whatever, Amazon, that costs them a buck or two to replace it.
You put 3 MacBooks in there or something.
Right. If I'm ordering jewelry, electronics,
dishes,
whatever,
glasses,
then basically a mobile safe might be a better way to transport that so you don't leave it on the porch.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that is...
I see.
Problem with that is then you immediately put a target on these things back.
If the culture starts to realize, the expensive things are in those guys.
Yeah. Right.
That they want them faster.
I guess that was just an idea. I don't know if I was really going anywhere with that, but I can see this being good for high-value items. The problem is if you only ship high-value items, then
people are taking out their rifles and
they're basically self-driving. Like I said earlier, they're basically little self-driving cars, and that's how they navigate themselves. They use GPS and they scan their environment. Mm-hmm. Starship Technologies wants to start trials, as I said, in the US and the UK in 2016, and they're hoping that this is commercially ready by 2017. There's no news of an Amazon or a UPS or a whatever or a FedEx signing on yet or anything like that. They're still going to keep testing it. Mm-hmm. I think it's a nice step in this direction. I think there are ways to use it. I still think drones are probably better, honestly.
Yeah. The company itself does have partnerships with UPS and FedEx and
Where'd you find that?
On their website.
Oh, clever girl.
I just had a thought about the safety thing. So if they're designing it specifically for suburban areas, taking the example of somebody following it, nobody walks outside my house.
In the suburbs?
In the suburbs.
I mean, that's kind of true.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, there's not a lot of
pedestrian traffic
There's not
in the
a
suburbs.
sidewalk in front of my house. Of course, that could be a whole nother problem, right? Because if there's no sidewalk, it's going to have to
be on the
These
side.
are larger wheels.
On the street.
They're larger wheels. They could easily drive on gravel and probably on grass, but they could not go up a curb.
Oh, no.
So, and there's no curb, so that's fine, but it would have...
In your area,
it would have to be either on the grass or on the side of the street.
You have to recognize the shoulder.
Yeah. Because there's no...
not fall down any...
Right.
Great.
So that's
I think that they might be onto something here. They obviously have to, in our opinion, they've got to beef up the tactical resistance of this thing. the armor a little bit.
Right. Well,
even if it's just a car swerving and hitting this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe it is. I mean, is there? I didn't see anything specifically about what it's built with. I mean, maybe they've already taken that into account.
That's true. I have to confess that the lid looks a little bit like you could probably put a sledgehammer through it, but that's I'm just judging at this point.
It could be bulletproof for all we know.
But, honestly, maybe we're all just being a little too dark here because at the same time... well, no, because honestly, at the same time, you could probably fairly easily also mug a delivery person. Yeah. And that does happen. You do see it in the news.
But there's less accountability with the
tiny
robot.
With the tiny robot.
You don't have to look the robot in the face as you do it.
Right. A camera.
Well, that's true.
But you don't know that.
I don't think we mean
but
necessarily that you're worried about your identity when you mug a person. More
it's just that it might be easier to kick a thing driving by than to kick a human.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see.
Right. I think morally.
But then maybe with the camera, people are going to be less likely because they're more likely to get caught.
Well, you just wear a mask.
And if
Tony knows how to do it.
I mean, so I've heard.
Yeah.
We got to go, guys. We talked about this actually kind of a long time. We should get going.
All right.
But it is an interesting thing, and I guess we'll keep an eye on it. Again, this is Starship Technologies. I keep hesitating when I read it because I always want to say Starship Troopers. Every time I look at it, every time I look at it, Starship Technologies, and I guess we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see. Maybe in another year we'll be doing a follow-up on them or not, and that's kind of interesting. That's it. That's all I got to say about that. Let's go to break. Yeah. And Tony, I want to hear all about, hey, it's kind of an Amazon episode. Amazon kind of episode here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's hear all about Amazon making a physical bookstore when we come back.
Let's do it.
Hey everybody, David Geisler here, host of the Technophiles podcast, and I am here with Krista Lee, also from the Technophiles podcast, and we just want to tell you about our third live show over at UWM, at the Digital Humanities Lab, with Stuart Malthrop. Isn't that right, Krista
That is
Lee?
correct, on November 18th in the Digital Humanities Lab.
It's going to be maybe he was like this really good pirate, but maybe he was actually just a really good businessman operating in a pirate universe.
Critical and
just
academic writings through new digital media.
And this is kind of cool because we've kind of talked about similar, like almost like stepping off points in some of our previous episodes, and we're going to meet with Stuart to talk about. We're going to kind of extend the conversation into like now more like what does it mean for the future, and I'm really excited about that. And we should note real quick, if you haven't watched our other two episodes, you can check them out right over here. We've got Jake Gill over here from Skritter and Thomas Melody right here, And go click on those right now if you want to take a look at the full episodes. Otherwise, we'll see you at UWM on
November 18th at 6:30.
I totally forgot the date. November 18th. Sounds good. Remember, of course, it's free. It's open to everybody. Anybody can come. Starts at 6:30, but you can get there at 6 if you like. The second floor, UWM Library. I'm just repeating stuff now.
Pretty much.
I think we got it.
That's good.
And I'm going to go watch this one. It's not working. I don't know what the problem is.
Try Thomas's. It might work better.
They got to do it. Oh, post-production. All right, we are back from the break, and you know what? I am here with VLab's Tony Stiglich and Krista Lee Malone, and I think we waste no time at all, Tony. I cannot wait to hear about Amazon going full circle. Or I don't even know if it's full circle,
Not
like
really.
the industry going full circle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Amazon, the death knell of bookstores everywhere, has opened its first brick and mortar full bookstore.
Yes.
In Seattle. You had mentioned earlier the New York brand or New York sort of
the Amazon store. Yeah.
Yes.
I can talk about that for a split second. Back then, we talked about this about 2 years ago on the show, and I think it was Drew Nowakowski and Tina Urch and I, and perhaps Sean was on. But for two holiday seasons ago, Amazon rented or bought or whatever, leased a big, huge building down in New York.
I remember this.
And it was a quote-unquote store that people could walk into and pick items and buy them, but it wasn't exactly a store. Mm-hmm. You'd walk in and there was essentially a very nice customer service area. You'd select items, and those items were guaranteed in stock.
Wow.
And it was almost like the whole store was really just a super robot warehouse. And you'd walk in and say, I need the red scarf because I need it tonight for so-and-so. I'm going to so-and-so's holiday party, right? You could walk in there and walk out with it is the only part of it that was like a quote-unquote store. Everything else about it was basically a warehouse. Mm-hmm. This, Tony, seems to be nothing like that.
It's not. It's just your traditional sort of bookstore.
I thought for sure the story was going to be like you walk up and you need the book, and then a robot goes and gets it for you. But that's not the case.
No. It's,
No, but that would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be
everything's
cool.
cooler with robots.
Yeah.
So, unlike your sort of Barnes & Noble, Borders, I'm going to say Walden Books and date myself.
Oh my gosh, Walden Books, I remember.
Yeah, right. Instead of sort of that large bookstore front, this is a bookstore. It's about 5,500 square feet.
Yeah, single story. It looks like on a normal, kind of just nice plot of land.
Normal little thing.
Which is quite small.
It is.
For a bookstore.
It is. It's organized by star ratings.
Okay, now this is where it gets a little interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so rather than take, I guess, although the most popular will be taken into account, certainly, but essentially it's going to say, there's a shelf that says, oh, these are highly rated, 4.8 stars or above.
Yep.
Instead of your typical, it will be sort of portioned into, like, fiction, mystery, whatever. There will be genre locations, but it's also based on how highly it's rated or how well they expect it to be sold based on pre-orders, things like that.
So the one interesting thing there real quick is that they might be able to determine their inventory. They might have an algorithm that determines the inventory based on star rating.
That is exactly correct.
Instead of like a classic
and
Barnes &
pre-order.
Noble
Yeah.
where, they have these, pardon me, I'm so sorry, I'm getting hoarse for some reason. They have these algorithms from the internet. Come on, V.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Calm
right?
down.
Like, you're the one we should be all getting away from.
Maybe it's...
No, I feel bad.
No, it's all right. I was just talking too quickly. But anyway, I want to get back on point here. You know, back in the late 90s or the early 2000s, you go into this huge 3-story Barnes & Noble, and they had every book on the surface of the sun in there because they had to.
Right.
Maybe Amazon takes their online data and they can just really focus the inventory that they have at this bookstore.
Yeah, instead of the quantity of, we hope, essentially a long tail model where you just hold every book, a couple copies of every book and hope they sell.
Right.
You're focusing it in to basically your best sellers.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting.
It is interesting. So all the books will be... one thing I thought was interesting, rather than displaying books as most bookstores do with the spine out, every book will be displayed with the cover or the sort of the cover.
Yeah.
So, in other words, the real life thumbnail.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily even about this is what we're talking about, not maximizing the amount of books you can put in. It's not about maximizing space. It's about presenting the best books and selling the most of those.
That sounds incredibly appealing.
And a single bookstore, a single mom and pop bookstore even, I'll even make it more specific, they've got to spend 20, 30 years kind of going, these books do well, we'll move these, let's move the science fiction section over here, let's move the mystery section over here, and they kind of can organize and deduce and whatever they can do the best they can.
Yeah.
But Amazon, within that single store,
Right.
Amazon can literally aggregate the data of the globe to know what to put in this store.
Yeah.
Or even down to regions. If you want
that's
to
true.
get, maybe a book sells better in one region
true.
than another.
It's true.
Ooh, different genres for different regions, and oh man,
The amount of data out there that they can sort of pull from is, I'm going to say, probably astronomical.
It's a physical representation of popular sales right now.
that is so smart.
Now, this store does carry inventory, but they also encourage you going online and buying it from Amazon.
Okay, that seems redundant now. Tell me
Why
about
that?
that.
Essentially decreasing shoppers' load, like that they have to carry. It's in a shopping complex, so if I want to go buy a book, I can either walk out with it that day, or if I want to buy several books, they will encourage me to buy it online.
Because you're not going to
In
read
the
all
store
of them
online.
at once.
In store,
Yeah.
but through Amazon's website.
Right.
So then it's still sent to me regularly anyway, but I get to hold the book in my hand.
Kind of get that organic light bounces off the book and goes into your eyes in the bookstore thing.
Yeah. So I immediately thought of, as someone who buys a lot of collected editions of comic books.
Sure.
For example, normally I'm a Marvel guy. Marvel's trade paperbacks are really low quality print. Like the pages are not great, things like that.
Okay.
So I can hold it and say like, this is kind of flimsy. It's not the paper stock that I want. And that maybe sends me to a hardcover. That maybe like I can physically sort of.
Yeah, I know there are some books that people go like, oh no, I never get I wait for the collections.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe get the first quote unquote season or whatever. I forget what the actual terminology is.
But whatever, it still applies.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
You prefer soft cover to
hardcover. I can't remember.
Right. Or
if
I'm buying a classic book or something, and maybe I want the. Collected edition of this, and maybe I want Edgar Allan Poe's poetry.
Yeah.
Like there's tons of different options. That I'm not saying those are all going to be in there, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
I see the value in physically holding it, and maybe I do want to walk out with it that day. These are also the prices are also what you'll find on Amazon.
Same prices no matter what.
Right. There's no upcharge for having it be a brick and mortar store.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't help but notice that there are a couple couches in there, things like that.
Yeah.
Like they're encouraging the bookstore experience.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
So it's interesting that the website that's effectively destroyed most of the bookstore industry is now going back to having a bookstore. Now, if we don't have any thoughts on further thoughts specifically on this bookstore, driving home tonight,
yes,
I was listening to NPR. There's a story about Walmart that I looked up. Walmart is sort of pulling back on its stores. They're closing a lot of the smaller stores in favor of
the huge superstores,
the online shopping experience.
Okay.
So on the same really day that I found this story, or within a few days where I found the story of Amazon expanding its online store into
physical
brick and mortar.
Yeah.
We have a story about Walmart pulling back, which is more the traditional what you would think. But these are the two of the largest sellers, in the country.
They absolutely are.
Right. So I found that really interesting because I think what we're seeing is a new brick and mortar experience. Mm-hmm. It's no longer that you would go in and just kind of browse.
Yeah.
Or your sort of big superstores.
I was gonna say this Amazon bookstore kind of feels like it's disguised. It's a different experience disguised as a bookstore in a way.
Right.
I don't want that to sound cynical, but
no.
Maybe and that's the whole point. They want people to walk up and they're drinking their mocha, whatever, and they see the bookstore and they go, "Oh, let's go in and look. Oh, look at this. Look at this book on cooking. Look at this thing. Oh, there was that one, that book that The Martian. I kind of wanted to get it. Blah blah blah."
Yeah.
They take a look at it and they go, "I will buy it. Yes, I want to take it home with me today. Or I'll buy this one, this one, this one. Yes, of course, I'll order it on Amazon." But what's going on behind the scenes, the structure that is informing this bookstore, is not a classic bookstore.
No, you're not able to. So I like to go in, again, if I may bring it to comics, go in and see what's come out, what's available, what looked interesting in issues that's now out in collections.
Yeah.
If you're talking about novels, like here's, if I like this, maybe I would like this also. Mm-hmm. You're sort of going in to browse and maybe talk to potentially more informed.
Good luck with that one.
Well,
you trying to say like staff and stuff?
Staff, yeah. Right? Yeah. I can't say anything about this Amazon staff in particular, but we have a small local bookstore in Milwaukee that's doing really well. Well, that is hanging on really well.
Wait,
and they have lots of
Boswell?
Good events called Boswell Books.
Because that bookstore has shown up on this podcast. We've mentioned it a number of times because of different stories.
Yeah. You can go in and say like, "Hey, I like this thing," and they'll be like, "Oh, great. Here's some other things you might like."
Right.
And they can point you to things that maybe aren't the most popular book out that you might already know about.
But that's clearly an ingrown, in a positive way.
But this is not that. This is more like, I know what I want. Let me go get it. From what I understand, rather than I might want something, let me go check out.
If you know what you want, why don't you just go to the website then?
Because it's
I
part
feel
of
like
the
this
experience.
is for the browser.
It's
for the person who is a browser.
Yeah.
This is the person who goes, I don't know what I want, but I want a book.
But not looking
and
for
I
the
want
deep
what's
cut necessarily.
good.
Or like, oh, I have to get something for my brother-in-law. I need to get him a book. And instead of clicking on favorites and recommends and all these different things and not knowing which book, you want to go into the store and go, oh, maybe this one. Oh, maybe this one for Aunt Sue. Maybe this
what's
one for...
popular.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's popular versus what's available, I think.
It's already curated. They tell you, they sort it out very easily, understandable, so you know what you want. And, like, they say, this is good, this is popular, everybody's reading this one, so you should get it. Like, they put it out in front of you. It seems like it's just... We curated it to make it easier for you, and we know it's good, so have at it. Right. And also the experience of holding it in your hand.
Sure.
So I have 2 thoughts on this. And one, the first thing I thought of was buying gifts. Like, I personally would never go there for myself because I like half-price books, and I like Boswell, and that size and type is not going to give me that experience. But, yeah, if I'm looking for a book for, like, my mom, my brother, somebody who... I'm not really sure, then sure, going to the Amazon store and being like, this has 4.5 stars. That sounds good, because that's going to give it to me. But the other thing, and this is why maybe I shouldn't have been so snarky right away, but when I said good luck with the help there, yeah, like Boswell, and then there's another place in Wauwatosa where the guy who works there all the time, very knowledgeable. It's called The Little Red Book.
Okay.
But same thing, like I walk in there and like and it's very small, but like if I start talking about so I was reading this series, blah blah blah, and he had also read it and then recommended other things. Like, this was a reader. Yeah. This was a nerd that I was talking to, and I say that with all, as a good thing.
Yeah.
I would be surprised to walk into an Amazon store and find that type of person working there.
Yeah.
Like, it would seem weird.
It doesn't feel as homey.
I think you bring up an interesting distinction. And maybe it's because we are of a certain breed and have very specific, very sort of nerdy interests.
I was going to say, let's just say it. We're nerds.
We're dorks.
In a lot of ways, like, you know the book you want and you go get it.
Well, so yes.
Or like the top... I don't know.
Well, what I mean to say is, I might want to go and find, some obscure like Boom Studios comics, one of the not very big, comparatively not very big publishers. But if I'm buying a book for someone, I think that's an interesting distinction of like, your classic bookstore might be for you. Because you can get down into the nitty-gritty of what you want. But if I'm buying a gift for someone and I might not know exactly what they want, I can go and look at the higher than 4.8 star section and get a Gone Girl. Get a, someone likes mysteries, I buy them Gone Girl. I don't necessarily buy them something by some obscure... Yeah. It's an interesting thought.
Well, my take on this, too, though, is that I think this is very much... so I can't help but think about like the mall culture that was happening in the late 90s and the early 2000s. And a lot of times when you go shopping at the mall, you're not going for that specific thing. You're going to go have that experience at the mall and you're casually browsing. In many ways, a lot of people go to the mall and try to find excuses to buy things. I don't personally shop that way. I don't personally even enjoy malls that much. At most I have to like walk into a mall to go to that one store I want. I go to get the thing, I browse 2 or 3 things, and I get out as quick as possible personally. But there's other people, and that is totally awesome, that want to go like spend the afternoon because they're not sure what they're looking for, this or that. That's great.
Or it's the social thing. A lot of people go and it's not about shopping.
But I think that a bookstore like this fits into that culture very well.
I think you're 100% right. The sort of long tail of the bookseller where you just stack as many things as you can and hope they sell is not hitting that mall culture, the sort of... it's you want pop music in this case. You want the popular books. You want something that's going to satisfy everyone, not the one thing that's going to satisfy some people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I'm not discrediting this Amazon store thing. I think they've kind of, and I also think, so for example, using this mall analogy, which might be a little bit dated, but I'll go with it. I don't know. I think people still go to malls,
people
right?
Still go to malls.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Just not people,
Okay,
us.
fair enough. But if you are going, so you go onto a website and you're browsing and clicking, click, reload, click, reload. From a browsing situation, that's not from a casual browser, the way you might walk into a clothing store in a mall or a furniture store in a mall or a video game store in a mall and just go like, I don't know, let's just see what's here. Let's just see what's here. Like, you don't do the let's just see what's here thing as easily or as organically on a website.
Yeah.
And one more specific point about that is when you walk into a bookstore, especially this Amazon bookstore where you're seeing all the book covers, you walk in, you look up, you're scanning 400 thumbnails, as I joked earlier. You can zero in, you can move around, you're moving around in real space, and your eyes and your brain are processing all those images, and you're zooming in on those images and in and out, and you're making choices on where you want to move through that bookstore as a human.
Yeah.
But you can't do that on a website. You can't get this kind of organic scan of the room of 400 books. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And so for the person who's just walking in because they got a mocha and they bought a shirt and like they bought a pillow for themselves, it's at some store, and they might need to get a gift for someone, or they maybe just want a book, but they don't really know what they're in the mood for. They're just looking for a book.
Yeah.
See where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
I think this fits in there.
Yes.
I might have an analogy that fits this fairly well. Board games.
Okay, yes, let's talk about this. I think you're onto something.
I think what the Amazon store is purporting to do is stacking essentially all of your Yahtzees, all of your Monopolies, Saris, all the board games everyone knows, where your casual person walking through the mall is going to go in and immediately know or be able to look at all the different types of Monopolies
Sure.
and buy what they want. Whereas, if you have a more specific interest in that, you can go into, again, this is a local reference, but there's, say, the Board Game Barrister.
Right.
Like a specific board game store and get that, which is not what this store is.
Right, there might be one caveat to that.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to bring it up later. I apologize.
No.
I guess I did.
That's sort of my point, is that this is purporting to have the high-rated, the popular, your Settlers of Catan, your Monopolies, your things like that.
However, there is one technicality that might be a positive here. I actually don't think this is necessarily a negative. This is, kind of feels kind of natural, actually, now that we talk about it, for Amazon to try something like this.
Yeah.
But once you started using the board game store analogy, I realized that, all right, so once you said, the Monopoly's been popular for 50 years, 60 years, whatever, plenty of generations.
Yeah.
There's a lot of games that have been popular for generations. There's a couple games, like, what happens to the one book that's super niche but skyrockets? You know what I mean? A little bit like what happened with The Martian on Amazon a year ago.
Right.
Like, it might... A board, using the board game thing, all of a sudden there's this one game that got really popular that might actually, their analytics of their sales over the last 20 years of how things sell might be slow on the uptake to stock that. Amazon might be quick to include a surprise rising success that is not quite mainstream yet and included in that inventory.
Absolutely.
Ticket to Ride or
it'll
Catan, like that.
Or even more so, even a deeper cut.
You can essentially promote the really good deep cuts into the public eye.
You can have literally the new and notable.
Right.
And it's based on algorithms of what the specific people, I almost said what the cool kids are ordering online. But if something takes a lot of popularity in a specific culture or something like that, and it rises, that's an advantage. They have the algorithms to support that, and those algorithms move quicker. I would probably guess they'd probably adjust monthly in a brick and mortar store like this. They can change their stock accordingly. Whereas with a traditional bookstore or traditional board game store, or traditional store, there's a lot. Those algorithms, those analytics move slower.
Well, so I don't know how long this has been. Maybe it's been longer than I think. But I brought up Settlers of Catan. I mean, that's a fairly new game, or at least new to the popular zeitgeist.
It's been blowing up in the last few years. There's national
last
tournaments.
few years, but I think
so. If this algorithm was in place maybe before, and you had a store like this, maybe it gets promoted up to the fast rising. If you like Monopoly, try this.
Right.
And then because
when you go into a board game store in a mall, unless it's crazy specific, and then it usually doesn't last too long in a mall. But if you go into like a normal board game store, you get the Monopolies and like you'll get Star Wars Yahtzee, but you won't get like the Star Wars battle game that
the crazy advanced one. Yeah,
so awesome. But anyway,
right. So maybe you can accelerate that timetable, I guess.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I was trying to propose. I'm making this up as I go, but that's a thought.
We're looking at the maybe.
I forgot what I was going to say.
So maybe you're looking at the same thing with books, assuming these sort of brick and mortar stores expand.
Did you get it now? Is it come back?
Okay,
what are you going to say, Crystal Lee?
I was trying to cover.
Thanks.
It's all right.
Wow. All right. So I don't remember now if it was you or David, but it was one of the guys said something about like if they have regional stores, right?
Yeah, it was Tony.
Right.
Okay, and then also with the niche thing. Well, sometimes those follow regional patterns as well, right? So like there's a pretty strong geek culture in the Milwaukee area.
Yeah.
So you might see if there's like a regional Amazon store here, you might see more of those sci-fi fantasy books that you wouldn't see if they had
potentially
with in a different city, right?
Yeah.
And that could actually be really well, I mean, I guess it depends on you look at it. That could be really good. That could be really bad, right? I know there's a lot of geeks that kind of complain about geek chic. But whatever.
It's another episode. That's a different episode.
But from a business standpoint,
from a business
that's a good
standpoint,
thing.
that could actually help them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And some of like the writers and stuff, right? Like sci-fi novels. That's what I'm actually waiting for, right? I mean, they're cheap.
Yeah.
That was like an $8 paperback that I brought brand new. We're not talking about a lot of money. If you had something like this where you had the algorithm and then you notice like, well, there's this strong geek culture in this place.
You get some authors start selling some book and they see on Amazon it's really selling well in this region. It might find its way into that brick and mortar store. Yeah. Again, there's only one right now in Seattle, but if this were to progress.
Right, but not only that, like if they see, like, okay, so let's just say as an example, Milwaukee and Silicon Valley. I know this is going to be weird, but hear me out.
Let's do it.
We know that there's a geek tech culture in Silicon Valley because, duh.
Very good.
We know because we are here in Milwaukee that there is a decent geek culture, right? So they might see like, oh, this sci-fi book is selling really good in Silicon Valley. We should put it in the Milwaukee store because we notice that in Milwaukee they also have the geek culture.
That's totally fair. But furthermore, they probably also have analytics on how well that book is selling in Milwaukee anyway, online. To support it.
Well, right, that's true.
You know what I mean?
But they could be like, you might like this.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. And that's something where, like, Christmas is coming, right? Mom has asked for my list. I could be like, Mom, if you go over to the, Amazon store, because she doesn't like buying me stuff online. Oh. She really doesn't. This is like a thing.
But that's going to edge its way out over the years here.
That's true.
Still
but for the time
have a
being,
list
on
thinkgeek.com that nobody has bought me anything.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, Crystal Lee, by the time your grandkids are buying stuff, this isn't going to be an issue.
I don't care about my grandkids right now. I care about me.
No.
I don't have grandkids right now.
There is one part that I did fail to mention on this story. They're also using this, much like a Barnes & Noble or otherwise, to highlight their hardware that they sell, your Amazon Fires, your Echoes, Fire TVs, etc. So, Kindles.
So it's an Amazon store, perhaps a bit like an Apple store or a Sony store or a PlayStation store, whatever they call them. Windows has them now too, Microsoft stores.
Amazon's had their little Kindle booths set up in Barnes & Noble.
Kindle booths. And I think this article points out that they've had the booths, but now it's like a store. So yes, okay, so...
And so it makes
that's not really the story, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just a comment.
Wait, where did they have... I've never seen a Kindle booth.
Barnes & Noble in Madison has their whole center area is just Amazon, Kindle, Fires,
from
everything.
a business point of view, it works the same way that like
Even
Apple,
though they have a competing product.
So, but this is what it is. This is how it works. Let me explain this. Mm-hmm. It's just like how there's that Apple section in Best Buys these days.
Sure.
You could say like, well, that's competing. Why would they, whatever they're doing, they're trying to sell. Well, maybe not exactly the same because Best Buy isn't directly competing, but they're competing with an Apple store per se. Sure. So Apple pays a certain amount of money for that real estate in the store. Mm-hmm. So Amazon is paying for that real estate in the Barnes & Noble. Yeah. And at the end of the day,
it also draws business into it.
What happens is at the end of the day, it is more profitable for Barnes & Noble to have Amazon rent that space than the money they would make selling their competing product in that space.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just the numbers.
Wow.
It's just the numbers.
So this is a way of like adapting their hosts and just being like, all right, so we have people aren't going to walk in just to buy Kindles. We also have books because people like books and they like to hold things and have physical things and browse. So, we bring them in for that. And then maybe they'll think about, maybe I'll get a Kindle Fire for somebody.
And that's not, Amazon's paying
Christmas.
a pretty penny for that real estate in that store.
Right.
Okay, so and actually with the whole tech thing, I could see that being really useful as well, especially for people, especially because you're talking about things people don't really need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do not need a Kindle Fire. In fact, there's probably other things that are just as good, if not better.
Okay.
But if you can walk into the store and touch it and somebody can show you how cool it is.
There's
You know
an
what I
impulse
mean?
buy
Yeah.
sort of.
The impulse buy thing. That's
Definitely.
interesting.
Yeah.
Which I think
It can
you're
happen.
less likely to do online because you're going to see either raw specs, which if you are high geek, that is the cool factor. But for your average user, that's not. That's like technical mumbo jumbo. I don't really understand. But I might notice that here's the size of the memory.
We are
then
kind of
that's
getting
it.
to a point in technology right now where the thumbnail, it's just a bunch of rectangles these days.
Yep.
All the products are
yeah.
rectangles. Like,
Right.
you can't really experience it until you use it a little bit, and that's
Yeah,
kind of
you
fair.
can't skim
Right.
through it,
You know what I mean? We should get out of here, guys. This is a meaty episode. It was a great episode. I love talking about both these topics, but I think we should get moving. V, if people want to share their thoughts on, I don't know. What's your take on? Let's do closing thoughts and then get out of here.
I'm psyched to have like stores that will show what the popular graphic novels are, and that I could skim through them and not just look at Amazon and go, oh, thanks for showing me like the first 2 pages.
Fair enough. Okay.
I like that. Tweet me about comics at bear_Annika.
Tweet. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I guess we're kind of mixing it all together here.
There's some graphic
Tony,
novels
what's your
there.
take, and where can people find you on Twitter?
I think this is. I'm curious to see where this sort of new business model goes.
It's a
going
behind-the-scenes
from-
model.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
Going from online back to physical store,
And it's tricky to say back. I don't know if it's back to. It's just a physical representation of what's happening
well,
online.
Yeah.
I guess
You know what I mean?
That's such a weird way of thinking
in the
about it.
same
But
way,
that's what
in the
it,
same
yeah.
way that Barnes and Noble online is an online representation of
what
a
happens
physical
physically.
store. So
Yeah.
it's
The structure behind the scenes, I think, is different.
it's an interesting. It'd be like a Zappos shoe store
Sure.
or something.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I think this is an interesting new area.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to find me online, I'm at on Twitter at Tony_Stig.
Wonderful. Krista Lee Malone, your thoughts?
She's
ramping up here.
No, I'm not actually.
Oh, I thought you were
I'm not sure.
ready to deliver.
I'm not sure because
Sure.
I love bookstores. I
Oh.
don't like what happened to bookstores after, Amazon became big. But at the same time, I'm very happy to say that there are bookstores surviving this. Then you have Amazon open up a physical bookstore, and I feel like it's a little bit of a kick in the face.
I think you might be competing for 2 different audiences, though. I mean, yeah, like.
And this is why I don't know how I feel
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
That's
It's
it.
tough.
Yes,
It's tough.
because for all of those reasons, I'm kind of like, I don't know, and I'm not like trying to diss on Amazon because I shop off Amazon all the time.
Sure.
I'm waiting for an Amazon delivery right now.
That's right.
Yes.
You actually are. You are going home to a book delivered to you
Yes.
through Amazon
Yes.
tonight. Yeah.
Yes, I am. So I have mixed feelings, but maybe I would care more if they had one here locally. Like I'm not planning a trip to Seattle anytime soon. So,
Yeah.
but if I do travel outside of Milwaukee, which I do on occasion, tweet me at GamerAnthro with good bookstores, other places that I can go see.
You'll tweet where you are, and they'll let you know, huh?
Mm-hmm.
They. Well, I think I've said enough about my thoughts on this matter. We love it when people tweet the show at Technophiles Pod, or find us on iTunes, Facebook, and YouTube by searching Technophiles Podcast, or go to our actual website, technophilespodcast.com. Guys, I'm going to see you back here on Saturday, where we're talking about some pretty interesting things. We've got a NASA story. We've got Facebook search. Krista Lee, we've talked about Facebook search a lot. What do you have in store for us?
We did. Well, the last time we talked about it, if you might remember,
We talked about how it disappeared.
it disappeared
like the Uber
because
search.
you and I were on the beta testing for that, and then they took it away, and now it's back.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about it. We'll talk about that on Saturday. Until then, people can find me on Twitter. My name is David Geisler. You can find me on Twitter at Raptor Paint. Have a good week, guys.
You too.
Hey.
Yeah.